in order to make a game, you first have to create sprites, objects, and rooms in order to form the basis of the game. Sprites are made by right-clicking on the sprites folder and then selecting create sprite. Then you load or create a sprite in Paint or a similar program, and that is the appearance of your objects in the game. The objects are the items to which programming is applied, and they are essentially the physical objects in the game, whereas the sprite's just the appearance. The rooms as the space in which the game is actually played. And as seen here, it's you can add objects into a game maker room by left clicking, and by holding shift left click you can drag an object across squares, placing one in every square. Now I'm adding a create object to the ball so that it will start moving in a random direction at the speed of 5. This means that when the game starts, the ball will begin moving in a random direction. And when it collides with the wall, it will bounce against the object away from it. But now when I start the game, the ball will bounce around the room, as shown. Here we're adding in an end room to show when the game finishes. In order to do this, we're adding a simple object with a congratulatory message spelt on it. And we are also adding a display for the score. The room that's being added here is the end room. This will be displayed for a short time when the game is complete. Now, as you can see there, that object didn't have any appearance, just a blue question mark, which is what happens if you don't display a sprite. Display a sprite with an object. With the blue question marks for spriteless objects, in-game, those question marks will be invisible, so they can be used to create invisible objects, or to draw score or a similar variable, which will be shown later. What I've done here is set so when the left mouse button is pressed above the ball, it will increase the score by 1. Now, using the draw action, I am setting this score display to show the score with text. Now, if you want to display a variable such as score, you need to display a string, which is the part in the single quote marks, and then plus the name of the variable in brackets next to the word string. Now, a step in Game Maker is an interval of 1/30th of a second. So, adding one is a good way to keep a continuous check on all of your items. Such as the score here. So that when the score is equal to 20, it will end the game. or in this case, move it to the next room with a effect. So now when the ball is clicked 20 times, it should move to the next room. Also, you can see in the upper left corner, there is an increasing score counter to display your score. And there is the end room. Now there are ways we could improve our game even more. One of them is by setting the congratulatory message object in the end room to end the game 3 seconds after its appearance, and you can do this using alarms. Alarms are like timers that count in steps. So for example, this one has set alarm 0, which you can see here is an event, to 90, which means, because a step is 1/30th of a second, that 3 seconds later, after that object is created, it will end the game, as I am adding in here. Now, if you want to add a sound, say when the ball collides with the wall, you need to go into the sounds menu and create a sound like you would a sprite, object, or room. Give it a name that you can remember, such as the sow I'm using in this case. It's always good to have a naming convention for your sprites and objects so you don't get them confused. Now, when this ball collides with a wall, it will play a sound, which in this case is a zapping sound. Game information is displayed when you press the F1 key in-game, and you can edit it using the tab I just selected from the menu on the left. In order to add a background, you just do the same as you do with sprites, objects, rooms, sounds, and all other variations of objects within the game. In order to add a background, you simply go into this menu here with the Backgrounds tab, select the No Background thing, and then select a background from that menu, and it will change the background of the game to suit. Which will give you a much prettier end result. So now when the game starts, the ball moves around on a newly prettied up metal background. Now, if you want to make the game even more advanced, you need to make a few changes to the way the ball moves. In this case, we're going to be setting the ball to begin randomly moving in any direction every time alarm 0 is triggered. And we're going to do B speed as the speed. Now, this is a variable. Variables will be explained in greater detail in another video. The global prefix before the name of the variable indicates that it is global throughout the game. So if you type global.bspeed on another object, it will be the same as on the ball. Whereas without writing global as a prefix, bspeed on a different object will be exclusive to that object. And we've also added the left pressed event to increase global.bspeed relative to 1, which will mean that the ball will move one unit faster every time you click the ball, so the game will become steadily more difficult. Just in here we're putting in the timer, 30, so once every second the ball will randomly change direction. And we're also setting the alarm to reset itself. Now, here's another issue. If you don't define your variable before you use it in your game, it will result in an error. And as you can see, spelling is important to variable names. Now the ball changes direction randomly every second and increases in speed